Hi everybody, welcome to another edition of Joe Rocks Coronado, and I'm Joe Kane. Today we're going to be talking about using painted rocks to tell a story. I've seen other people use story stones, or story rocks as they call them, to paint little pictures, maybe an image representing a character, or maybe a place or a building or something, trees, whatever, to assist with telling a story. A lot of times it's used in elementary school age type stories, but using imagery in stories it has a long tradition, goes back a long ways. And so I'm going to use them a little bit differently, as I'm going to use 3 different rocks to represent personality traits of some of the characters in the story. So without further ado, here's the legend of the 3 sisters. So once upon a time there were 3 sisters. All 3 of them were intelligent and beautiful, and they all fell in love with the same young man from a nearby village, and all wanted to attract him, so maybe he would, ask one of them to marry him. The first sister was well known for having an adventurous spirit. This represents her. Okay, so she promised him a life of passion and adventure and never-ending exploration. So this represents her personality. The second sister was well known for having the best garden around, and she promised him all the best foods, the best fresh vegetables and fruits and anything from the garden, and also beautiful flowers in the spring. And the third sister was probably the most intellectual of the type, but she was very skilled at making really fine things. She was mathematically minded and was very, very interested in intellectual pursuits. So she promised him a lifelong exploration of philosophy and intellectual pursuits of that type. So this represents her personality. Now the 3 sisters, they wanted to try to make it easier on the young man so that he wouldn't have to choose. So they agreed to meet with him in the village square at this well that was in the middle of the village square. So in order to have time to discuss the situation, they decided to go ahead of time, and they were sitting on the edge of the well discussing how they could make this easier, because they kind of felt sorry for him having to decide which one of them. So they came up with this idea that they would each write their name on the back of a stone, and then they would put the stones in a bucket, and when the young man showed up, they would have him pick a stone out of there, and then they all agreed that whoever's name was chosen would be the one, and then the others would be cool with it and everything would go well. So anyway, so the first one wrote her name on the back of a stone and put it in the bucket. The second one wrote her name on the back of a stone, put it in the bucket. And the third one wrote her name on the back of a stone and put it in the bucket. Well, as happens, the young man was delayed in arriving. So the 3 sisters, having waited for quite a while, decided to take a nap in the shade of a nearby tree. When the young man finally did arrive, it's a hot day. He comes galloping into the village square on his horse, and the horse, being hot and tired, immediately went up to the well to get a drink. And of course he thrust his nose into the bucket to get some water out of there, and the stones made a rattling sound and startled him. So the horse ends up bucking the young man off. The young man flies forward, falls into the well, and hits his head and drowns. So when the sisters eventually awoke, they saw the horse standing nearby, they saw the stones scattered around the well and the empty bucket, and only much later discovered the young man in the well. So what's the moral of the story? The moral of the story is never rely on chance as a strategy, because chance often has a way of working against us. I hope you enjoyed the story of the 3 sisters. If I can hold all these. Hope you enjoyed the story of the 3 sisters. If you did, hit subscribe, and you'll be alerted next time I have another update. And meanwhile, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook. Just search for Joe Rocks Coronado, and check out all the stuff I'm doing about related to painting rocks and sharing the love of the art of rock painting and everything that goes with it. Thanks again, and thanks for watching.